Priority 1 message from Starfleet coming in on secured channel.
Captains, we are so very grateful to have with us for this very special episode of Priority 1 Podcast, Star Trek Online's lead designer, CaptainGeko Rivera. Al, thank you so very much for joining us for some extra bonus content for our podcast. Thank you.
Thank you. Very welcome. This will be the first time that I'll be doing this too, so I don't have anything prepared, so hopefully I'll have some interesting things to say along the way.
Well, here's what you can look forward to coming up, Captains. We are going to do a director's commentary of sorts for the 2 featured episodes that were released for the 10th anniversary of Star Trek Online. Both of them titled Measure of Moralities, Part 1 and 2. So, I am joined by Admiral Winters of the Priority 1 Armada on my team in Star Trek Online to get these missions done. And also joining us on voice is Skiffy and Kat. Hi, everyone.
Hello.
Hello.
All right. So let's go ahead and jump right in. Now, be sure to... look at me. I'm talking as if though we're going to be able to edit this. And I guess we could, but maybe not. But don't forget, Captains, that for episode 453, we have another interview with Al Rivera talking... more granular things with respect to Star Trek Online, so be sure to check that out as well. All right, let's jump right into Ja'ula's Discovery. We're going to pause for voiceover. Fortunately, our panelists can hear the audio here, so they'll be listening along. Let's go ahead and jump right in.
So the first thing I remember now, if I'm watching you play, is where were we going to put this mission on the sector map, because Excalibur actually is really galactic south, far away off of our sector map. So we've had a few times where we've had to deal with that. For instance, Herc is the Herc planet is off of our sector map, so we had to figure out where we were going to put this mission, and that is actually the genesis as to why you have 7 of 9 bringing you to this other inconsequential location. Where you're going to meet her to then go off to Excalibur. Originally, we had the original plan was simply to just go to Excalibur for, Lincoln summons you and you go to Excalibur. But then we said, oh well, that's not going to work because there's no map, and that came with the genesis of like, okay, what if we have just 7 of 9 to ask you to come help her out on her. On her thing, she calls in a favor because she knows you. And
so
you
where
something routine, and then that ends up going to something else.
So where is it supposed to be on the? So I have the sector map open right now, and it's
where is Excalibur supposed to be?
Yeah,
like way south, like just off the map. Keep going down, just somewhere down in there. I don't know exactly where, but it's off the map.
Got it.
According to star charts and lore.
Got it.
So,
all right, cool. All right, let's go ahead and launch it. Episodes. And let's listen to some VO from Jerry Ryan.
The long-range sensor arrays in the Trailer system went offline recently. Last thing they picked up before that happened was a Borg scout ship. I'm heading to Trailers now to investigate. If this is the beginning of a new Borg incursion, I could use some backup. Meet me there as soon as you can.
All right, go to the Trailer system in the Beta Quadrant and investigate the anomaly. And these are the rewards. The rewards for this episode are the dual Tetrion rifles that 7 uses. But wait a minute, weren't they phaser rifles that she took from Picard?
Yeah, last week's episode they called them phaser rifles. Well, yeah. But that was 10 years ago, man. She upgraded them to Tetrion rifles 10 years later.
Okay. Fair enough.
You think she has the same old weapons? She upgraded them, man.
All right, now before we start, I'm sorry, guys, but I have to do my daily routine of clearing up my inventory, doing my DOFs. I'm kidding. I'm not doing that. I'm not starting with that. All right, let's go ahead and do this mission, shall we?
Do all your Admiralty.
Do all my Admiralty. That's what I'm going to do right now.
So when we cast Jerry Ryan, like I mentioned previously, she we knew we had the scripts for some of the episodes where she appeared, so we had an idea about how she talked. But there were discrepancies in it. For instance, in there, she sometimes used contractions and sometimes didn't. There was an early draft of the script, and so they're like, well, from what I saw in the commercial, it didn't look like she used contractions. She was talking more colloquially. So we actually had a phone call discussion with her ahead of time to understand how she talks. Even how do people generally refer to her? Do they refer to her as Seven of Nine, or Annika at this point? And how do, because we haven't seen the show, we only have we had some information, but we don't have we don't get an early draft of the shows, and we don't get an early cut. So we actually had to meet with her ahead of time to discuss how she talks. Does she swear? Does she use contractions? Does she, how do other people refer to her? So that was definitely a very unique thing, hurdle we had to deal with that we never had to deal with before. We've always had the characters, we knew all about them ahead of time from watching the shows, but now we're writing stories for someone that we hadn't even ever seen on screen before. So it was definitely a unique challenge, and in a lot of ways we just had to count on her to deliver the lines the way she felt her characters was delivering them. We couldn't direct her as much on the delivery as much as we would with other characters, with other actors.
So one of the things I was curious about as we were talking earlier for episode 453 is the way the stories develop almost around the voiceover actor. So you shared with us a little bit of the first idea you had, the pie in the sky dream that we all wish could have come through, which you're going to have to listen to episode 453 of Priority One to hear that. So no spoilers here. But my question is, so what came first, the chicken or the egg? Was it the voice actors and then the story, or the story and then the actors?
It's a very good question. And it's different. It's different times. In general, what happens, and in this case, what happens is that we plan the story, and we basically have different versions of that story based on which actor we think, that we might have. So if we're going to get this, character A, then the story is going to unfold this way. If it's going to be character B, then it's going to unfold this way. And so we actually have different plans, and we can do a lot of work before that happens. It's very, very rare that we aren't able to sign an actor that we want. It does happen, but it's rare. And we try to sign early enough that it won't impact us. There's been a few times where things get delayed with lawyers or whatever, where we're working, and it's like, oh man, they haven't signed yet, and we're committed at this point, and it gets a little scary because we're already invested in building the model, because we have a verbal agreement, and we can't postpone anymore. And so sometimes it gets a little anxiety provoking, but for the most part, we sign before we do any significant development. And then if we are unable to sign that character, then we have a plan B character that we will go with, and then we adjust the story. We'll adjust the story that way, and then we have a plan C where we can't get anybody, and we just make it a generic or a character that someone we make up, or someone that it's just a regular recurring character we know we can get. When we have to make a story that's really, really specifically about that character, I think the one that comes to mind might be the Harry Kim story, when he finds him, in Dust to Dust, when he finds the version of himself that was reanimated. I mean, we couldn't have just stuck any other character into that. So before we invest in the story in like Dust to Dust, and that we've secured the actor long ahead of time before that happens. But we definitely do have, even at the planning stages, say, okay, well, what if we can't get this actor? What are we going to do? And we have that plan right now. We have the next couple stories coming out that are, I have verbal, like, yay, I totally want to do it, talk to my manager kind of thing. And we haven't secured anything, which is just too early anyway. Right. But we have plans. If this person is unable to do it, then we'll go in this other direction instead. And so basically the short of your story is, yes, we have we plan the story first, and then try to get the actors, and then have a backup plan in case it falls through.
Got it. All right, let's move on to the next step. The trailer system.
This
hosts-
one was an easy one to have backup actors for, though. I mean, we could have dropped in Lorca and had Lorca and Evil Lorca in here.
Right.
We could have thrown in Tilly and Mira Tilly, right? We could have had Tasha Yar and Sela, right? We could have. There was a lot of possibilities.
Thanks for
could have done
coming. Been a while. You look well. Considering what I hear about your exploits, that's an impressive feat. Back to business. Spotting a Borg scout here made a lot of people nervous, and with good reason.
I can't imagine.
So, some old friends called in a favor, and here I am.
So
I came here looking for Borg, but the real problem turned out to be sabotage. Orion smugglers fouled up the long-range array, but they left the short-range sensors intact. I have plenty of evidence from the sensor logs to turn over to Alliance officials.
all right, did you hear that? Did you hear that when it opens, it's a clearer sound, and then in the second part, it's
Yeah, that certainly is an audio bug.
okay. And the Borg?
Still a concern. If they're sizing up this quadrant as an incursion zone, we need to know about it. I have a few ideas on upgrading the sensor arrays, making them harder to disable and better at spotting Borg. Beam me over and we can sort out the details.
Very well. Stand by for transport.
With your assistance, I can complete the modifications quickly.
This is the legendary Savi.
Good. Now that we have a working array, our next step will be initiating the new security protocol.
This is the one direct development
Are you
contribution that I made to
the
this
long-range
game,
sensors just lit up like a
to this
toggle.
story. It is the scan beam that happens. That's the
What do you mean?
that's the one thing I built.
Oh.
Oh,
Alright.
the FX that we're seeing right now?
Well, it's actually a critter way, like 20,000 kilometers away, shooting a tractor beam that does nothing to you.
Creating a massive energy surge. We're being scanned.
This scan beam that happens.
Ship is under attack.
That's me! Yay!
Oh.
I did work.
That's me! Yay!
Everything else is me telling everyone else what to do. So this was a great little addition from Weston right here, where
Nice.
he does this kind of like hurling through space and
Wow.
very TNG type.
Yeah,
thing.
this was perfect. This
Yeah.
took me
So
immediately
good.
back to TNG.
Yeah, totally, very much a TNG touchstone. That was a touch from Weston that he wanted to do. I don't know if it was Weston's idea or Jesse's, but I know they were working on it
Oh,
together,
that
and
was
Weston
unpleasant.
wanted to do that.
Still, there are no
Oh.
damage reports, no casualties.
What did you want to ask me, Elijah?
I don't remember now.
But
If
I was gonna say,
gonna-
do we have to keep playing if we've seen Al's contribution?
Yeah, that's it. We're done.
Exactly.
Thanks,
I mean, it's
everybody.
all-
Good
it's
night.
Mission over.
Well, we couldn't figure out how to do it, and it says I know how to
This
do
is
that, so I just went and made it,
unexpected.
and I don't really make much things anymore, so it's something I like to do. I like to make things. That's why I got into the business in the first place. But then eventually you start getting to be a manager, and you just have to you don't have the time, the bandwidth to do that because you're always helping everyone else and directing everything else.
So, how much remodeling, if at all, did you have to do to Seven to get
She
her
was
back?
completely resculpted from scratch.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, she was completely resculpted from scratch, and then so what the artist did was they rebuilt her, and the hair was built separately, and then they built her for her old 7 of 9 in the Voyager content, Delta Rising content was rebuilt, and then they took that one. So if you go and play that old content, you'll see that her model is updated in there as well.
Ah, okay.
And
But to
then
look
they
like
took
this,
that
or
model, and they took that model and then they aged it and tweaked it to make it more Picard looking for this one.
Ah.
And then they added the hair and then the
According to
the
astrometrics, we
outfit.
were catapulted several hundred light years from Trailus to the Excalibur system.
Excalibur? Seem to recall a few space legends about this place.
Here's some facts to go along with those legends. In the 23rd century, Excalbians abducted the USS Enterprise and subjected some of her crew to a series of combats. Some sort of morality test.
I don't like the look of this. Is it possible that we're here for the same reason?
Feels that way to me. I doubt they dragged us all the way out here to have a Ractogino and talk about baseball. There's one way to find out for sure. Hail them and see what they want.
Lots of atmospheric. I am a sloppy captain. Lots of atmospheric interference on Excalibur. We can't establish comms.
I can boost the signal once the ship is in a standard orbit. Assuming the Excalibans are in a talking mood, we should have answers soon.
Agreed. Helm, take us into standard orbit over Excalibur.
So in the
Now we know why you haven't been brought into the game as a VO actor.
Shut up, Skippy.
Didn't you do some VO?
Iffy.
No,
I
man.
was thinking the same thing.
Yes, I
I
did.
thought you did some VO.
I did back with James Lee, remember? And it
James
was
Lee?
and I remember now I know what we were recording for. We were screaming. I screamed out, "Oh, the cavern! It's collapsing!" And it was for the
Legacy of
Iconians.
Iconians.
Yep.
It was the Iconians, and it never made it into the game.
Oh, we cut you out?
I guess so. Now I know why.
That's horrible.
Adrienne made it in though.
Grady?
Yeah. All right.
Yeah,
boost
she's
comms.
been in the game a couple times.
We are receiving your signal.
Arr.
On
If
behalf
you
of
hadn't
the
watched
Excalibur
like
people,
TOS, I could see this might be very jarring for you, and really bizarre. But in the original episode, basically, you know, this happens. They actually see it's in space, and they get a hail from Lincoln, and then the planet, a square of the planet, turns from lava to like Type M green area that they can beam down to. We didn't do the square, but we had to do the Lincoln in the chair. The first chair they sent us was completely wrong, so I was like, why did somebody do that chair? I was like, what did the chair do? I think the chair was like way up here or something, and like, that's the wrong size chair. What's you guys doing? And so then they rebuilt the chair.
Yes, I suppose that would be a bit of a surprise. You'll pardon me for that, I hope.
These voice actors are all
Some
remote.
time ago, I met and fought
Yeah, all our
beside
voice
one
actors
of
are
your
remote. They're all
own,
SAG actors. I think this guy
James
did a
Kirk.
great job being
Under the
a Lincoln.
circumstances, we felt seeing a familiar face would make this meeting go a little smoother.
I see. Why are we here, Mr. President?
That is a complicated matter, I'm afraid. I think it would be easier to discuss it face to face. We prepared a meeting ground on the surface of Excalibur. It meets your needs for atmosphere and climate, as I understand them. Will you join us there?
We accept your gracious invitation, Mr. President. We'll beam down at once. But before I do, I'm going to bring down the game volume because I think that might be a little loud.
Sounded good over here. I don't know about for recording.
Or video.
Preparation is the cornerstone of all priority one productions.
Shut up.
So if anyone remembered, if they were participating in Ambassador Kale's
We are receiving your... That
augmented reality game that he made, that he tried to make so hard and people still solved in 8 minutes, he kept making it harder and harder. But yes, the power of collective and of the collective, right? You were unearthing these communications, which are basically telling the story of the Excalibians trying to solve this morality question that they're going to pose upon you here. It's like they need to
Welcome,
decide what's
friend.
better, good or evil.
I do hope the local
I'll wait till
climate
this
is
is over.
to your liking.
The climate's fine. It's our abduction that we have a problem with, friend.
My apologies. It was not an action of my choosing, I can assure you.
My favorite things here is that they got the, you know, when people talk, they do the gum chewing and their mouths move. There's an animation that makes your mouth move when the audio comes through. So Weston hooked up that mouth moving to the eye blinking. So that's the same technology they used to make her mouth move when voice comes
Long
in.
ago, the
And it
two
makes their
of
eyes
us were
flash instead.
involved in a study, if you will.
An evaluation of two concepts, good and evil. The initial results were ultimately inconclusive.
The debate has continued since that time.
We now seek a final resolution.
What does that have to do with us, exactly?
You have been chosen as advocates for the concept of good.
But you will not face it alone.
This movement, when he goes like this, like when he talks like this is something right out of TOS. The guy would talk and he'd go like this, and then he'd snap his fingers to make things come out. So all of that is like right from the show that, you know, that Weston and I talked about. Says, what can we capture from TOS to make that? And he does this weird thing where he actually says like, "You will die or you will die," and he does this kind of thing like that. So we got all those hand gestures in there.
I have to say, the first time I saw that creature, something went through my head, and that something was rock lobster.
Rock lobster. If you turn around, where you're going, Elio, if you go like to the left a little bit, see if I can find it. There's a little Easter egg in here. If you can find a tree, if you find a tree stump in here.
Oh, it's straight ahead, I think.
Is that it?
No, it's a rock,
There's
maybe?
a tree stump right around here somewhere, and no, I can't find it. I can't remember what it is. There's a tree stump in there, and it has. We'll find it. It's here somewhere. It has his axe in it. The axe is in the tree stump, so it's kind of
really?
Yeah, a little Easter egg about the reward, but also that he's going to be swinging that axe around at the final act. I know it's in here somewhere, unless it doesn't show up until a later act, which I'd be surprised. But anyway, while you're looking for that axe until you get bored. So if people had played that augmented reality game, basically what you were seeing was, what you were listening to was they were trying to solve the story, trying to understand the morality is good and evil, and they're basically trying to pick what's the better philosophy of good or evil. And so they start.
Oh, that hurts.
Die. Yeah, that hurts.
I never tried it before. I was just curious.
It's actually pretty deadly, yeah. And so they're running trials and running simulations. They're running the same simulations you're about to do, but they're trying to do it only with simulacrums, and that's Lincoln just like trying, sending out distress calls saying like we can't, this is not working, we're not solving it. And then eventually they escalate that they need to bring in real people, because they can't solve it on their own. They just don't understand it enough on their own. I'm sorry we can't find the axe. I know it's in there somewhere. I'll have to look around it for myself a little later and send you a screenshot or something. Maybe one of someone out there will find it. But it's put in there as that the whole axe thing just kind of became. It was done by our environment artist, David, who made this environment art, wanted him to have an axe. The kind of running joke was Abraham Lincoln Vampire Slayer. It says it'll be Abraham Lincoln Not Cool Slayer. I didn't want to take it too campy, but he put the axe in there and said, well, we have the axe, maybe we can make it into a weapon. And I mean, what would he be fighting with? I didn't want him, if he was going, we didn't want him just standing around, but we did, and we know he fights in the original show, but we didn't want him shooting with phasers, so it seemed appropriate to give him an axe. And if you notice, the axe has a little presidential seal on the axe.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
If you look a little close.
Winters, it didn't bring. Oh wait, it did not bring you in.
No, it is a single player mission.
Okay.
It hasn't. Oh,
Yeah.
well, then that's what should have been changed by now. It's supposed to be. It was launched as a single player and it's supposed to change to 2-player, but I guess we didn't get around to doing that yet.
I will attempt to clarify our intentions. In this trial, you will be accompanied by associates that we have created for you. You will confront a variety of situations in opposition to evil forces. Your actions will be judged, as will those of your opponents. The prevailing concept will guide us as a people. We shall pursue the virtues of good, or the vices of evil.
Why have you chosen violence as the means to evaluate the concepts?
We find violent conflicts produce pure examples of good and evil. They provide the best results to evaluate and judge.
And if we refuse to participate in this trial,
Failure to participate will be seen as your endorsement of the supremacy of evil. The trial will then conclude with a judgment in favor of evil, and our subsequent pursuit of the concept as a guiding principle.
fight or evil wins by default. That's not much of a choice.
The trial awaits you. Proceed through the portal behind me when you are prepared.
Very well. Let's get this over with.
Think
I
we need to
can't
be
help but
cautious
draw
when dealing
parallel-
with the Excalbians. They're a lot like Q, minus a sense of humor. Fashion sense could use a little work, too. For now, I say we play their game and stay in one piece. Look for opportunities to swing things in our favor. Our new teammate here might have some insight into the situation as well.
Good point. Anything you'd like to add,
Michael Burnham, of the USS Discovery.
So, all right. So we talked a bit about Jerry Ryan. What about the backstory with getting Sonequa Martin Green? How'd that happen? Is our Anthony Rapp and Mary Wiseman talking up Star Trek Online?
It seems like they're all talking it up, which is great, which is kind of the thing that we want to. We want to make sure that we let them have a really good experience. I never got a chance to meet her ahead of time, but yes, people had talked with her, and I was able to send a good word because I've gotten to get to know Rekha Sharma really well, and I was actually just chatting with her last night. And she kind of put in a good word and contacted her for us. We still went through regular channels as far as reaching out to her agents and going through her lawyers to get that signed. I gotta say, she was probably the most absolute delight to work with, probably of maybe of everyone that we ever worked with. The whole Discovery cast are really, really genuinely happy, friendly, pleasant people. I mean, all the kind of interactions you see online where they're laughing. I mean, it's just genuine. No, that's right. No, I take it back. I did meet. I completely forgot. I did meet Sonequa at the Consumer Global Partners meeting. That was a little earlier last summer, and I did talk with her, and I talked with several other the cast members there, and so I put the face to the name, and she was very excited about it, and she's just super friendly. They're warm. They hug you. Doug Jones gives me a hug. They're just all really nice people. It's ridiculously nice. And we talked with her. Paul and I called her ahead of time to give her a backstory of everything, and she was just so into it. And we showed her the cutscenes ahead of time. She was so excited by it. She's just an absolute delight to work with. I just want to be her best friend. She's just really, really, really friendly and genuine. So, yeah, I'd love to have her back. Do as much as we could with her.
So here's a nice nod to Discovery, reported missing in action.
Judging by your uniforms, I'd say I'm in the future. The last thing I remember was preparing for battle with my crew, and the crew of the Enterprise. Since we're having this discussion, I'm guessing we won that fight. My apologies, my memory's a bit fuzzy. Possibly a side effect of whatever brought me here.
Indeed. Welcome to 2411, Commander.
So from her perspective, she is entirely who she thinks she is, right? She doesn't think that she's artificial. She thinks that she was just brought here and doesn't understand it, but also she's just okay with it. And that's just kind of how the Excalbians make people.
Over 150 years. Fascinating. Right. I'll catch up later.
That fascinating was an ad-lib from her. So.
Oh, really?
Yeah, she wanted to throw a fascinating in. She wanted a Vulcan fascinating. So that was 100% her ad-libbing that.
To address your original question, I wish I had all the answers, but I know as much as you do. Going through this trial will give us the chance to conduct some tests of our own, learn more about them and the situation here.
Agreed. Let's not keep the omnipotent beings waiting, then.
Take heart, my friends. Yarnik has a forceful personality, but his voice is not the only one heard here. There are many Excalbians who would embrace virtues before vices.
Thank you for going light on the contouring as opposed to the Lincoln in TOS.
Oh, well, that's entirely Ian, our artist, so he actually did Lincoln on his own at home.
And as one of your allies here, I have a warning for you. The trials are drawn from your past experiences and records, but they will not be identical recreations. There will be alterations to test your responses and those of your opponents. Expect the unexpected.
Thank you for the information.
Please.
When they first
accompany
made
me.
Lincoln, the hat was attached to the head, so every time he blinked, the hat would just kind of bounce up and down.
Beyond that portal, the first trial awaits. Good luck, my friends.
That was a pain in the ass to make, by the way. You notice you didn't have to click on that door. You just walked into it, and white outs and moves you.
Yeah.
So that
By
was
the
a
look of
little piece of
things,
something new that we haven't
This
done
world
in
is
the
under
past.
attack. I'm reading a lot of weapons fired from several locations in the area.
This is a safe
By the
position
way-
for now, but that could change soon. We need to get to cover fast. I see a plaza ahead. And casualties. Enemy fort.
All right, hold on a
If you
second.
play this game as a Romulan, your dialogue is different. So
Oh,
when you're,
really?
Yeah, because she's never seen a Romulan. So if she sees if you in the previous act, if you were Romulan, she's shocked and doesn't understand because you look Vulcan to her. So there's a little conversation there because later over here you're going to see dead Romulans and she's going to be, what? Those aren't Romulans. You're kidding me. So the dialogue is different because you would have already met a Romulan. She would have already met a Romulan in the previous act because it had been you. So it's changed if you play as a Romulan here.
Oh, that's really neat. I want to ask you about the tech of this for a second, because you mentioned being able to walk through the door without having to click on it was a technical achievement to overcome. I also noticed the VO continued during the loading screen. So are we actually on the same map?
Yeah, we're on the same map. It didn't load. It's the same as going through an elevator or turbo lift. Okay, it's just so the map is just off to the side. You literally don't go upstairs when you go through turbo lift. You just shoot to the side. So we just did that, but we didn't do it. So you had to click on anything. Plus, we white out the screen. So it wasn't a technological hurdle, but it was something new that we had to build. We wanted originally for it to be seamless and you just run through the whole thing like one giant map, but it just wasn't technological. It wasn't performance-wise wasn't feasible.
When did this
So
take
we broke
place?
it up on the levels.
Originally, Romulans. You're serious? Those are Romulans. This is a lot to take in.
Romulans are an offshoot of Vulcans who left after the time of the Awakening.
The Romulans are... I clearly have a lot of catching up to do. But the middle of a war zone isn't an ideal place for a history lesson.
Agreed.
These Romulans are Tal Shiar, members of a covert military intelligence force. Their list of enemies is long. Any number of them could be responsible for this attack.
In this case, it's Riemann partisans.
So yeah, that conversation would have been different if you already discussed Romulans on the previous act.
This one was killed by heavy plasma weaponry. Strange. I'm also reading trace amounts of several exotic particles in the area. Antiproton, tachyon. Whoever else was in this fight used some extremely advanced weapons.
I feel like those background effects are really loud versus the VO.
If you've, by the way, this map is the, based on the original map that Hakiv's fight, but the artist completely remastered this. So this has been completely updated. Be nice to see it before and after. So if you play the old mission, it's completely updated.
This one was killed by heavy plasma weaponry. Strange. I'm also reading trace amounts of several exotic particles in the area.
Looks like did you close it out instead of hitting continue?
No.
Whoever else was in this fight used some extremely advanced weapons.
Makes sense. The Iconians were allies of the Tal Shiar at this time. They were probably fighting at their side. This may be one of the unexpected changes Lincoln warned us about. Iconians arriving here early.
So
Some kind of constructs. They're using anti-proton weapons.
Heralds.
Come on, turn into a Borg. Turn into a Borg. Come on. Iconian drone. I love that assimilate power.
Oh.
Look, my little buddy Iconian. Hey, man.
Those were Iconians?
Not quite. They were heralds, harbingers of things to come.
Heralds are augmented servants of the Iconians. They were used primarily as shock troops. We've encountered them before, but if they're here now, things are worse than expected. There's a tactical force field blocking our way. That looks like the emitter over there. Should be simple enough to destroy it.
I want my bridge officer to attack it because I saw a weird thing.
The bridge officer won't attack it for 10 seconds at least. It's like giving you a chance to attack it, and then eventually they'll find it and then shoot it.
I want to see if it'll. Darn it! I saw this weird thing where the bridge officer like jumped up because we're using the mind meld device.
Melee weapons?
Yeah.
Some melee weapons like the axe will.
Tal'Shiar and Herald's fighting Reman combat squads. Wonderful.
So, these Remans, they're on our side. Good to know.
Those the Discovery dual turrets?
Yes.
Ambush turrets?
You there! I would speak with you.
They're good.
Your timing is fortuitous, my old friend. My resistance forces are closing in on Hakiv's laboratory.
So did you bring him back for this, huh?
Yeah, bring a lot of people back for this.
The Iconians have sent their minions to aid
Hobosek would be the first one. We
lost.
wanted every one of the episodes to kind of have every one of the acts to kind of to have someone, someone to bring back on the good side as well, and then kind of.
The lab is not far.
And then, of course, the next one is a little kind of
guards,
two-sided, bringing back
and Hakiv.
Noé's wife.
Looks like there's another tactical force field blocking the way. This Hakiv really doesn't want to be interrupted, does he?
Delaying tactics. Let's find and destroy the shield emitter, quickly.
It may not be in an obvious place. Check the nearby buildings and rooftops.
Good point. Spread out. Signal the group if you've got the emitter.
These are things we got to do for gameplay, so people know what to look for.
Excellent. Hakiv has holed up in the south like the cornered vermin he is.
He's a great actor.
Once we're near his position, I can set up a jamming field to prevent him from beaming out. Then we can bring him to justice.
You might be able to block transporters, Hobosek, but I doubt you can block a functional Iconian gate. As long as that remains open, Hakiv will be able to escape. Deal with the gate first. Then you can talk about justice all you want.
Agreed. Let's shut down the gate. My little drone pretties.
Are you assimilating?
I am.
No one got hit by that guy.
Indiscriminately.
Surprised it doesn't break missions more.
What, the assimilate?
Yeah. Because often missions are waiting for everything to die.
Right.
Before proceeding.
Oh, I see. Yeah. Did I miss something?
It's a little challenging fight coming up here.
Know.
Ambush! Look out!
I never like streaming or recording my sessions because I'm always feeling like other players are judging me.
Yeah, they are.
I didn't want to say anything,
but you're doing great. You're doing great. I mean, you got through that, and
no one died.
I did notice you bumped the difficulty down to normal before doing this.
I did. I normally do it in advance.
Yeah, right.
I really do.
So good of you to join us today.
I just didn't want to keep dying.
Of ridding the galaxy of your stench for some time.
That was a weird jump. Did it jump for you, or is it just on the video?
It jumped for me.
I don't know what happened there.
Shall become a reality.
This ends now, Hakiv. No amount of Iconian or Tal'Shiar scum will stop me.
We have bigger problems. The Iconian gate is still online, remember? Hakiv can bring in Iconian reinforcements as long as it is.
Then let's shut it down. Keep Hakiv and his forces busy while we work, or this trial will end real soon. And not in our favor.
Understood. You'll have all the time you need, Commander.
this section of the game presented a lot of exceptional challenges for us to build. It's definitely kept breaking as we were building it, particularly after after this section here, because then it switches into it actually switches into almost 3 paths instead of just 2. Whether or not if you choose to save Obasek or choose to go after Hakiv, because it also changes which door that Lincoln opens, so that way if you're save Obasek, the door opens right behind you. If you choose to save Hakiv, then it's open across the hallway from when you come out of the hallway. So a lot of alternate things have to happen to make this work. That presented a lot of challenges for Jesse. Jesse worked on this a lot. Animation state changes because Obasek starts injured, and then he either has to die or sit up, and so that was some tricky stuff that was giving us a pain in the butt to get working.
You think you've stopped me?
Wow, it is so much different playing this in easy or normal than advanced.
Oh, you've been playing in advanced this whole time?
Oh yeah, always.
Oh, you're a tough guy.
Well,
no, not like this. You're better than this. If you do this, it won't be justice. It'll be.
I like how he looked at the camera.
You don't have to do this.
This is all great.
Pay for what he's.
I don't remember making the
call.
Oh yeah.
Help Obasek or catch Hakiv?
Obasek's in bad shape. He needs field surgery right now, or he's not going to make it. I can't do this alone. I'll need your help to save him.
Hakiv's getting away.
His problem is a giant shield generator sitting on top of him. That's gotta hurt. What are you gonna do?
I saved him.
You gonna save him?
I saved him. But I'm keeping my distance because of the virus.
Rest easy, friends. This part of the trial has reached its conclusion.
Have you done both versions?
There's a portal nearby.
Yes. Yeah.
Use it to return to Yarnik.
Yeah, this portal opens here if you choose to save him, but if you Obasek, it opens around the other side. So when you come out of that hallway, it's right in front of you.
Whee!
So this whole little cutscene is they're his Tal Shiar guards. If you in this scene, if you had chosen to go after him, it would have been resistance fighters. This is our first manga cutscene. So
manga? What do you mean?
I just
Whoops.
just a suggestive cutscene.
Oh.
That's very, very reminiscent of some manga accidentally. But yes, if you had chosen to arrest him, he'd been in handcuffs, walking down with some resistance fighters taking him away.
Is that the stump? No.
I don't know where the axe is. I thought it was right over there.
At a critical moment, you move to save Obasek's life. Because of this, Hakiv escapes and convinces the Iconians to pursue a scorched earth assault on their enemies. Billions more die in the following war as a result. An intriguing choice, to be sure.
It was a hard choice, Rock Lobster, but I stand by my decisions.
To callously leave an ally to die upon the battlefield is not the mark of a strong soul. Saving the life of a comrade in the fight against evil was a brave and noble act, one worthy of praise rather than scorn. Come this way for your next trial.
I will say this: after playing this, I mean, yes, I watched the. Is he walking in the lava? What's he doing? I watched Lincoln with.
Oh, the movie Lincoln.
Yeah.
Right. Any idea where we are?
I watched Lincoln Vampire Slayer instead.
Seen anything like this.
This is the Anorax, a Krenim vessel built for temporal war.
Yes, some of this tech is very advanced, most likely from the future. Anorax was heavily modified after a scientist named Noy stole it from Kiana Station.
I've got a bad feeling about this.
So this episode threatened to get really bloated because you remember the temporal front, temporary liberated front is made up of Mirror Lita, Admiral Lita, and Krog from Nakul,
like
and
some kind of command station.
Boras, and I forgot the two fish people. So we were going to give each one of them an act, but it just got way too bloated. So they just become little mini bosses that you get to fight.
All right, so there's a lot of lore here.
My plan to recruit Admiral Lita to the Temporal Liberation Front was a success, keeping her loyalty.
And this is the same actor, right?
Yes, and I'm forgetting his name now. I feel like I need to look it up now.
As long as those dreams remain in her reality, our partnership
I
shall
really feel
continue.
dumb.
The moment her dreams
Sorry.
So it was always
our
meant to
reality,
be. What's
my
his name?
reality,
James
then
Horan.
honeymoon,
James Horan.
as
So,
they say, is over.
so James Horan played Future Man or Shadow Man in Enterprise, and so we had always meant for when we made the original temporal story that Noye would be, was that we were explaining that he was Shadow Man the whole time, and if you play that whole story arc, play that whole story arc, you see that he goes to the same journey that Daniels did, where he starts where his face is all as first you meet Noye, and he go, and then then you, if you remember way back, the story is Butterfly, where Noye and his wife are scientists working, they're trying to figure out how we can stop the Iconians by changing time, by using the Anorak's timeline to kind of change time, and in doing so, you accidentally assimilate all of Romulus, and Nog is with you on that episode, and so it doesn't work. But the whole simulation, the whole experiment fails, and the only way to kind of to undo it is to you have to basically erase everything, and what you end up doing is you end up erasing all of Noye's wife and her entire race, who become the Sphere Builders. Because not his wife doesn't, but their race does. So they're stuck in this Delphic space, and they can't come back into normal space because they've been erased from time. So that's the backstory. We explain why the Sphere Builders are trying to just change space in Enterprise, because they want to return, because they've been completely erased from time. But in doing so, he erased his wife from history, and he doesn't even know it. Later, he finds out the logs and realizes what's happened. Then he becomes on this crusade to fix time by destroying you and the Federation, so it never existed. So that way, his wife wouldn't be erased from time, and thus he becomes the Shadow Man in the Temporal Cold War in Enterprise. And so you see him as Noye, but then you don't even. Then later, when we reintroduce him, you don't realize it's Noye. You see him as Shadow Man in the temporal the temporal arc, the Agents of Yesterday arc, and you see him first as Shadow Man, then as his face is really distorted as just one of the artifacts that happens by playing with time, which is what happened to Daniels. Daniels' face was all melted, and little by little his face gets better until you recognize him as Noye. You realize he's been behind that whole temporal Cold War the whole time. We always wanted him to be James Horan, but for whatever reason years ago that communication fell through the cracks, and the voice actor they got for him sounded nothing like James Horan. So we lost that opportunity. But now when we did this, is well, let's actually, and now we're SAG, and we're really better at doing voice acting work. So we were able to reach out to him, and not only does he play it here, but as Noye, but we completely re-recorded all the lines for both all of Delta Rising and all of Agents of Yesterday, so you could hear his voice right there, and he's got a really, really awesome voice.
Yeah.
In here, so we hope to use him again just for other things, because he's just a great sinister voice.
Right.
I think he's played a Klingon before in Star Trek as well.
So he played It's the alien who tried to take the transphasic shielding in TNG, didn't he? Isn't that the same actor?
Oh, he
Yeah.
played.
And he also played Lieutenant in
Yeah, looking at my
Descent
memory
Part
off
1
right
and 2.
now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The sphere builders grow suspicious.
Played
And
a
he also played a Jemadar.
Jemadar, some. He's played a lot. He's played looks like five characters.
This war is won. Today, at Procyon 5, I will undo what the Alliance has done to them, to me, to my family.
Looks like he played the guy that Beverly shoots a hole in and has basically no organs. He's made of one solid mass. His name is Joe Brill.
Procyon 5.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
No, he played that character.
In our time,
I don't remember Lieutenant
like
Barnaby.
things changed considerably in the next century.
Do you remember in
And on
Descent
the
Part
bridge of
1
the
and
enemy
2
flagship, no less.
when
Judging
all
by
the
the look of
officers are
things,
down
we
on the
should
planet
leave.
with Data and Lore?
By now, we've been detected by our
And
security system.
Dr. Crusher
I'd
is
rather
in
not be
charge of the
around when we
Enterprise.
send combat teams to retake the bridge.
He was the tactical replacement.
He's just a temporary guy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Tossin from Fair Trade. Don't know if I remember Fair Trade very well. He played a lot of characters. And we're happy to have him. Looks like one of the bad guys to the Chilaxians. I love how you're just going around murdering people who are just trying to put out fires.
It's a family game. It's a family game.
This door here.
I'm detecting a massive buildup of temporal energy ahead.
Yeah, along with multiple life forms, all armed.
Wow, I think I'm going to play the game on easy more often.
Nice try, but you're done here.
So she came back too, huh?
No, she didn't. These are original lines recut from all her other stuff.
Oh, really?
So we didn't actually bring her back in for this. But we do notice, if you do notice, that she is the only one of the temporal front who is not defeated in the simulation.
Right.
She actually beams out. We can't kill Lita, even in the simulation.
Ooh, Cora just hit her in the back of the head. Oh, it's the mind melt thing.
You haven't seen the last of me!
No, that I remember, yeah.
So this whole room was rebuilt.
Noise on the upper platform.
If you had any recollection of what it used to be, it was
yeah.
Well, this is the fleet a derivative of the fleet map too, isn't it?
No, there are some parts that are shared. The fleet map has the original Krenim Starbase interior, which is from the episode Butterfly. But this is just, which shares a lot of the same assets because it's the Anorak, it's the same, it's all Krenim technology. But all this creates in this amazing is completely different. It didn't used to be there, and it was completely relit and retextured. So this is Krog. The boss here is Krog. Krog is voiced by Michelle Speck, which many of you know. She's played Krog. She's played and she just played the Andorian in Beneath the Skin, the Andorian captain. She's also known as the counselor on Star Trek Continues.
Right.
Not Kenna. I forgot what her character is on. Super nice lady. She's always at conventions. If you get a chance to meet her, I highly recommend it. She cosplays a lot. She's
History
nerd
shows you have a habit
nice.
of meddling in the affairs of others.
We believe it is time to break you of that habit.
These are the same two characters from Captain's Holiday, who stole the Taxutot.
Oh yeah.
In TNG. Yeah, Boratis and Adjur. They're the ones who who tried to steal the Taxutot in Captain's Holiday.
Right.
You fight them in the temporal arc as well. That's basically the whole Taxutot arc as part of that. No more time traveling
Here to parley, or shall we just start shooting at one another?
Let's just shoot.
I will fight this battle again and again until I stand victorious.
I understand the need to bring back the ones we've lost.
Living in the past is an exercise in futility, Noi.
Where'd that come from? My gun's broken.
I will not be defeated. I control time itself.
It probably got into a weird state because once he reaches a certain percentage of health, he becomes untargetable. And so it sounds like that happened right when he started building that thing, but the effect of the force field didn't pop up. So it got a little edge case there where he was untargetable, even though he didn't look like he was untargetable.
Enough.
I will let my drones do the work.
You can't control time. If anything, time controls us.
Did you sit in with Sinigo Martin Green?
But wasted.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
His grief blinds him to things like logic and truth.
I really love it when we work with actors who are just really into the work, and she's just really into the character, into the work. She's just genuinely warm.
So
she had input that she wanted to give, and she was great at it. It was really challenging because she's actually still in the middle of filming Discovery when we had her recording, so it was a little hairy trying to work out time. She was working like 18-hour days, constantly working. So she was a trooper though. Came in. She didn't come into the office, but she recorded from Toronto.
You cannot stop our plans.
So there are field builders here, which a lot of people miss. They're shooting those little warbly things. They're around the. They teleport in and out around the time core.
Wow.
There's one right there.
Yeah.
She's making that big time distortion. If you shoot her, she'll just go away. A little. Yeah. She'll just phase back out. You can't defeat them, but you can phase them out. Stop them from making that hazard.
Cutscene.
No, I've come too far.
I really love this scene. From here on in, the scenes just get so good in this story.
Sure you're never born, even if I have to shoot you in the cradle.
No!
Both the
Husband,
the actor
please.
that plays his wife
You don't have to
and
do this.
Solemn Jens did such a really good job at delivering these lines perfectly.
Oh, so you got the original actors for them too?
Yeah.
Wow, man.
I love the way she says husband here. It's so sinister.
Husband.
So that's still the original actor, and then you hear really gently, you hear a little changeling sound effect.
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
really sight, and then he gets impaled. And then it's Solemn Jens takes over.
This war needed to end, Noi.
Before it consumed us all.
Actually, that line before was the other lady
Yeah.
impersonating Solemn Jens for the transition, and then it's Solemn Jens pops in. So just really happy the way that turned out.
Wow. Oh.
Yeah, this was great when I played through it the first time. It was amazing.
Noi was a danger to all life, even in the Dominion.
Dominion. She just says Dominion, right? Instead of Dominion, it's the Dominion. That's just how she says it. It's great. It's just hers.
Time and time again. And so, I have done what you could not. Now we must destroy this vessel, so it can never be used again. Let us end this war, once and for all.
She doesn't do conventions often, right?
I don't think I've ever seen her at convention. She's quite old. She's definitely an older person, but she's a professional, and she banged out these lines really fast. She knows the character.
TLF will lack the power and leadership needed to fight the
What are you
Alliance.
gonna do? What are you gonna do here?
Who knows?
Tough
Maybe
moral
there'll be a
choice.
chance at a lasting peace this time.
There's the fun choice, and then there's
The situation
one's
at
more
that
fun than
point
the other.
was finished. You didn't need to execute him.
That's true. The fight was over.
Maybe we can still do this the right way.
Go on.
This is a time shift. We should be able to generate a localized temporal spike and send ourselves back to a point before this whole situation goes too
And
far.
of course, Michael should be the one who
Let's
talks
finish
about how
this
to
without
resetting
resorting to cold-blooded
time
murder.
travel, since she's been doing a lot of that lately.
I don't know. Let's see. Who says we should agree, or who says tampering?
Tampering.
All right, Winter spoke up.
Yeah.
Right, no fighting changelings then. Or did you choose the one that says no fighting changelings, right?
Speak right,
Correct.
You have chosen wisely. I am pleasantly surprised.
What now, Founder?
I have much to discuss with the leaders of the Alliance. Steps must be taken to protect the timeline from criminals like Noi. For you, the war is over. Return to your
This is
ships.
one that's definitely worth playing
I
both
suspect
sides to
we
see the
shall meet
different
again.
options.
I believe that will be enough for this trial, my friends.
Where'd he go?
Yarnik awaits our return.
Getting a little bit of lag.
He will, no doubt, have things to discuss after observing your... Let's return.
So that scene was, as I had, mentioned before, and it was worth mentioning again for this recording. That was the start. This was when we were trying to figure out how we would build this story and what would happen. How would we make these interesting? As far as making, should we be just is it a what if scenario? Is it something in the is it the same scenario you did before? And then Paul, what are we gonna do with the changeling? Because we don't really have time to do another changeling story, and we don't even really have a great map for what is the changeling. I guess we got a changeling homeworld, but and then Paul had suggested, what if Noye, once you defeat him, that his wife shows up and he goes to hug her, because that's the only reason he's been doing any of this, is to get his wife back. And so now his wife back, he doesn't really need to have this war anymore. So he just embraces her in such a really powerful way that he jumps in and just grabs her, holds her, and then she shanks him. And so that was Paul's idea, and that's that's perfect. That's the perfect kind of twist we want in each one of these acts.
Right.
And that's the foundation of how we went forward doing all these. Every single one of them tried to have a shocker moment that also then led you to a morality choice of choosing what to do, save them or not. And each one, neither one of them is do the good thing or the bad thing. Both of them are the right thing to do, but with different consequences. So we never have you choose like what's bad or good or bad choice. They're just different shades of gray, and thus you'll be judged on those choices.
So I've got a question. Are you guys tracking the metrics on who chooses what choice? Like percentages of...
We are, but we haven't looked at it. I know we were looking at that. I think we looked at it early to find out. But most people are playing these twice, so it's kind of hard to separate it out. I think originally most people just if you pick all of what we consider the good-er choices, you get one type of accolade. If you chose the more less good choices, then you get a different accolade. So I think the choices are saving Obasek, saving. I can't remember if the second one. I think the second one is saving Noye, and then saving Michael. So if you always just choose to save, you get one type of accolade. If you always choose to sacrifice, then it's another accolade. And so I think most people chose saving, but it starts to even out because everyone just plays it through a second time, choose the other choice.
I was going to say, I think we discussed this when this first came out, and I mentioned something to the effect of there are some games that release those kind of statistics. I'm thinking like Life is Strange, where they actually as you finish each chapter of the story, they tell you what percentage chose to sacrifice or what percentage chose those paths. And it'd be kind of interesting to see what people did.
In allowing the murder of Noi, you made him a martyr for his cause, and the temporal war continues. Noi's followers go on to destroy the homeworlds of every Alliance member in antiquity.
Who voiced this guy?
With no opposition.
Our audio director, Michael Henry, voiced this one.
Space and time.
He picks up a few voices here and there.
The loss of Noi was tragic, to be certain. But the risk of losing countless more...
Michael Henry's a huge TOS fan, so this was right up his alley to record.
In his madness, Noi's pursuit of vengeance would have laid waste to many a world, bringing an end to that insanity.
How often did you have to tell the actors it's Noi, not Noye?
Every time.
Your participation in
I'm sure it is inconsistent throughout the game.
Far, but we require more data to make our decision. Another scenario has been prepared. Enter the portal when you are ready.
This way.
I noticed that these are, very ground-heavy missions. That just happened to be what the story was about.
This isn't familiar.
In general, it's undeniable that it is much easier to tell a more powerful story on ground than it is in space. It's just more personal. It's people interacting. It's it's far less emotional to watch a starship get killed, blown up, than to see a person die on screen. Right. It's just,
I don't know. Generations did a pretty good job of making me emotional when a starship got killed.
Well, yeah, I mean,
I get what you mean, though.
I mean, after 30 years or whatever of watching the Enterprise and then having it blow up, yeah, but because something like the Enterprise is a character, it doesn't have the same impact in our game. So when we want to do heavy storytelling, most of the heavy lifting tends to need to happen on ground, and then the action then will happen more in space. There's can I send you a picture somewhere on one of this thing?
I don't know.
A link? I don't know if one of these things we're chatting on, if I could send you.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
I don't know how to.
You might
chat? I guess it open this chat.
Yeah, you can attach a file in the chat.
Yeah, it's going to send an image. So here's that image I was talking. If this is the image of the Excalbian with his emote. His definitely different looking than our emote. Theirs look more like poop. Ours look more like lava. But you can see if you click on the link, you can see the way he kind of like does this when he talks. So we picked up on those sort of subtleties.
Right.
For those who are just listening, it's a link if you just look for Excalbian. I actually was looking for a picture of this of Excalbian comic because the look of it was a comic book, a modern comic book with Excalbians in it. I'm trying to find an image of it as well. And so our Excalbian is kind of an amalgam between the original TOS Excalbian and Excalbian comic book. I was trying to find an image of that. But I can't seem to find that right now.
Need to fix the camera.
Please feel continue. I'm just looking for stuff.
Note to self: don't do that again for me.
I wanted to mention, we were talking about the difference between ground and space, and I think in this set, first of all, I've never had an issue with ground missions. I think everybody's geared for space more, which is why they prefer them, is because they're kitted out for it already, more so than ground. But the moment we get at the end, the space moments we do get at the end, sure make up for the lack of space content in these missions.
Well, there are certainly things we can do in space that we can't do in ground, and you know, our game, definitely the action in spaces can be far really exciting, and our game is, you know, designed for that. So it's fun to pay off those moments there, but and we can do good storytelling, and I think we did in this episode in space do good storytelling in space. But I mean, looking at a cutscene of one starship looking at another is really hard to get a lot of emotions, as opposed to seeing people emote and have expressions on their face and interact with each other. It's just not nearly as personal.
So I particularly like this next scene because, I mean, how fresh it is and how quick you guys turned it around.
Yeah, this would be an example of something that was on the maybe list, right? We were not going to build this if we didn't get a Discovery character, right? I think it was pretty likely we'd have gotten someone if we didn't get Sonequa Martin Green, but you know, so like this was obviously made just for a Discovery character. We wouldn't have made it if we say we had, you know, a Sela and 7 of 9, right? It just wouldn't have made any sense. So we also needed it because all the while in all these stories, it's you. All these scenes are from your history or something that 7 knows about. This gave an opportunity for Michael to shine. Now this is her house now, and she knows what's going on.
I know where we are, I just don't know when. Knowing that's gonna make all the difference here, believe me. Let's take a look at those consoles and see if there's any useful information in them.
Science officer's log. ESA 4 was a test site for Section 31's Project Daedalus. It appears to be abandoned. The planet's atmosphere is toxic to most life forms, but we were able to establish a safe work area and habitat.
Is this iconography from Discovery itself?
It actually is directly from the show. We have the assets directly from the show.
Get out of here.
All the screens on Discovery bridges are directly from the show.
Huh.
We just convert them over to the right resolution that we need, and then pop them right in our game.
Did anybody read it and find anything like interesting, like what the code is and stuff? Like what
I think that's actually the scene from Discovery when she finds the error in Stamets' code.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh yeah. This is a recent entry, but the area is deserted.
But I was saying, like, did anybody in art read it and be like, "Look, it says Tigger is awesome"?
Probably says something silly. Like, I have no idea if they saw anything in it.
There were a whole bunch of things on the Enterprise D bridge. Like, if you looked at the scans of the control panels, there were all kinds of funny.
There's a rubber duck on the L cars of the Enterprise D.
Like a shuttlecraft-sized duck.
Yeah. So for those, if anyone's confused what's happening, right? We're in a what if situation if Discovery got blown up, right? If Control beats Discovery. So in this case, Discovery is blown up. Michael has taken off as since spoilers, right? She took off in the Red Angel suit, and she left, and she's the only survivor left. Everybody is presumed dead, and she takes the Red Angel suit into the future to try to keep the sphere data away from Control. So this is that situation of what happens if they had lost and Michael had just bailed to the future.
Everything matches up to the point where Discovery crashes. That's where things change, and for the worse. Judging by the lack of survivors present, I think we have to finish what they started. If that's even possible. Control is a sophisticated artificial intelligence created by Section 31.
No relation to the Borg.
It was originally designed as a threat assessment program, but it evolved into something terrible.
Not the Borg.
Distinct.
It collects the sphere data. Control will pursue a path that ultimately leads to a complete loss of life in the galaxy. We cannot let that happen.
All right, I will. Sphere data, big sphere. They got a lot of data from season 1, 2 Discovery.
Need to read
that. Understood. Thank you, Commander.
Understood.
Yeah, we have to put a lot of that stuff in there for people who may not have watched Discovery to understand what's going on.
Who made the environment for this?
I think this environment was made by our artist David. So, David Lopez. It's one of our environment artists. So,
Oh, so this this display is straight from Discovery?
Pretty sure it is.
Wow. Hey, I never noticed the buttons are 3-dimensional like that.
Are they?
Yeah. Look.
I don't think I've noticed either.
You see?
Some depth to them.
Yeah.
Are they?
Yeah.
They don't look 3-dimensional to me.
Look at the switches and the buttons.
Oh, the buttons on the panel.
On this,
I
yeah.
thought you meant those are. Yes, I thought you meant the digital.
cards.
Yeah, the screen.
We need to set up the phase.
Actually, I should look at it. I should look at it in the VR headset to see if it is.
Yeah,
If there's
I gotta
any
try
depth.
that.
It's great.
Good. Now we need to prepare the stasis beams at that console.
This one, all right. So, can you walk me through this
You're
type of?
activating interlocks, and then your dynotherm's connected, and then the third mega thrusters are go is on the third one.
Okay.
And you know what I'm talking about? Is it just me? You guys leave me hanging here?
I think so.
Voltron.
Oh yeah.
And then I'll form the head.
You're on your
So
own.
far, so good.
These are the actual steps that they do in the show.
EMP
They don't do them at panels
Oh.
like this, but if the show they're talking about doing all of these things. So when they're trying to capture the Red Angel, these are the actual things that they do. But we pulled them out and made them 4 different clickies. It's just technobabble. It doesn't really matter what it is.
Matters to me.
We've set up the trap. Now all it needs is the bait.
So how many people were expecting Michael's
We
mother
need
to
go
show
back to
up?
the previous room, close the door, and turn off the
Yeah, I
lights.
was expecting. I was.
Yeah, I thought that was gonna be her mom.
This next cutscene is great. I freaking love it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Assuming things go
I
as they
also
did
I also
before.
really love the way Sneakle delivered the lines and the way Weston captured her do it now, and the way she leans forward when she says it. It's really good.
Let's watch it.
Yes. Definitely very
I've
Discovery.
done all I can with these ancient phase discriminators. We should have the power we need for this little stunt. But we're only getting one shot, so make it count. No pressure. Ready when you are, Commander.
Right. Do it.
Initiate sequence on my mark. In 5, 4, 3, 2. Wait, abort! Do not engage. Picking up a massive surge of tachyon radiation.
She's here. Do it. Do it now.
Activate the phase discriminators.
This is great. This is all Weston.
Mm-hmm.
This guy's amazing.
He's really good.
Activating EMP.
And I think there's this scene right here where we see Michael kind of side-eye. Or is it the next scene? This scene right there. I love how that totally
What are you
captures
doing?
Michael's expression so well.
Time for this. Discovery is gone. We have to deal with it ourselves. We have to stop control now, or it all ends.
So while we're developing this, the trailer comes out for Discovery Season 3 where they see Michael with the long dreadnought hair.
Yeah.
The dreadlock hair. And so like right in the middle of development, says we got to put that on for future Michael, just have it distinguished as like give her dread. And long hair is really hard because it tends to clip. You'll see Seven's hair clip sometimes, especially in some cutscenes. But the artist did a great job. They were able to make that happen, so you can see the distinction between.
To be
Michael,
fair,
future
long
Michael.
hair clipping is a problem in every game. Not
It is
just,
a problem in every game,
Yeah.
yes, and so it's something we just accept.
What?
That's so big of a problem. I've seen it in Pixar movies.
Yeah, hair's
I'm-
hard.
I'm curious what the actors said about this script and about this. Like, do they ever kind of be like, oh, that's interesting, or oh, tell me more about that?
In general, or Sonequa herself?
Both.
I mean, in general,
Specifically,
most of the actors are not really that invested in it most of the time, and some actors like Sonequa really like getting we gave them the cutscenes ahead of time, so she saw early versions of these scenes ahead of time, and she was really into it, and so she had a lot of input, and she was questions, and so she really loved it. She just released an article, I can't remember which outlet it was, that we did an interview with her, or maybe it didn't come out yet, I'm not sure. I read her anyway. She just did a really good interview of it. It may or may not be released. That's where she talks a little bit about this. I don't want to I can't say where it was because it may not be live yet. But
Okay.
she's just really into this and just really excited about anything that we can, where she can sink her teeth into like this. And I think she really enjoyed it. We
I
had a
get
lot
the
of
feeling you were
collaboration with
expecting
her.
someone else in that suit, Commander.
Yes. My mother. She designed the suit with my father and used it to escape a Klingon attack. In doing so, she learned how control ended all life in the future. After that, she used the suit to try and stop that from happening. Clearly, in this reality, that task has fallen to me.
How can we help?
Transfer the sphere data to my suit so I can take it into the future, where Control can never find it. We need to act fast. Control is on its way here now. This needs to happen before it arrives.
Understood. Let's get to work. Where am I supposed to go?
So if you notice when we when you in the cutscene in the original show and then in the cutscene you're going to be opening the doors, let the gas in to choke her, but
right.
So she'd die, but that allowed us to we said, well, we don't want to do that. We don't want to move the whole ceiling. So we just have the signal come in early.
So, all right, I'm curious about this part because I remember thinking to myself, oh, gee, it would have been really nice to have had Leland come in.
With all hands.
Is that something that you just couldn't do? Is it?
Well, I don't think I would have brought Leland in for him to say struggle is pointless.
Okay.
Control's using members of Discovery's crew as shock troops.
These actors are not inexpensive. And so we wanted to have this shocker moment of having all these characters here that you fight and just kind of see what happens to them, that they all got, corrupted, not assimilated, but, infected.
Well, speaking of assimilated.
And so you get to fight each one. One's an ensign, one's a lieutenant, one's a commander, and one's a captain in this fight.
Anthony Rapp is now a Borg.
Oh, you no. Well, that's not going to break anything.
No, I've done it before. I've done it before. It doesn't break anything.
If I leave the field, I'll return to the future. You'll have to fight Control without me.
I'm so glad that didn't break because I have to just hand it to the team that didn't break.
Try to magnetize the floor.
This boss was probably the hardest boss we've ever made. Not as far as like design balance or anything, but from the art perspective, trying to make it look, as best we can as a nanite monster, having it
leading
it to the platform. If you notice, a lot of those things, like these little pillars right there, don't have collision on it because they tend to get stuck sometimes. That pillar's going to walk right through it right now. It isn't collision because otherwise it gets stuck.
Quick, magnetize the floor.
Getting those beams to connect to its tentacles properly. It's actually there's only one tentacle in there in the model. The other 7 tentacles are actually just effects.
Right.
They're not models. So it's a lot of really crazy shenanigans that art and design had to do to make this one work.
Wow. Ow.
Getting the messaging right so players knew. I don't know if did anyone have any trouble? I'm curious to see about knowing what to do as far as leading the monster into the center.
No, I think I just walked into them.
So
my first playthrough, the only trouble I had was knowing which console to go to magnetize the floor.
Yeah. So a lot of messaging these are the kind of things like you can sometimes design these things, but like that orange light, matching the orange light on the control monster, trying to show that connection, and then having the beams come out to hold it to tell you that it's held. So that kind of stuff, like you can design these things in your head, and then all of a sudden you're playing it and no one knows what to do. The things you have to start thinking about how to message that it's got hurt, right? In this case here, so we show that it gets hurt, and you see that its hit point has moved, but its shields have reset. So now you have to break. So you have to break through its shields, and every time you get to its shields, it becomes vulnerable. So you can bring it there, and every time you take it there, it gets down 30% health. But at first we didn't know how we would do that. Would it just be that you?
So now I can see the one tentacle. You see it?
Yeah, you can sometimes when you put certain effects on it, you can see where the one tentacle is and the rest of it, because it won't pick up certain effects that you put on it, and so parts of it won't glow.
It's weakened. Lead it to the platform. Hurry! Magnetize the floor! Finish
So this
it
was a
off!
pretty big effort from a lot of people. We picked this console in particular because we want you looking right at it so you can see what happens.
All right, I'm gonna go home now. You can stay where you are, Burnham.
Did you break something?
No.
Speak with Al. I had no
Control
speak
is
with
using
allies.
nanites to take over the future version of me. If that happens, it'll gain access to the sphere data.
I can try to inoculate future Burnham with my own nanites. This should prevent Control from accessing the sphere data through her, but it'll alter her biosignature. She won't be compatible with the suit if this works.
Too risky. The suit could wind up trapped here. Given time, Control could find a way to access the sphere data. We need to think about destroying the data. Purge it from the suit before Control can access it.
Continue.
Could do that, but losing that data, all of that knowledge gone forever. Consider this. The means of eliminating Control could be held within the sphere data as well. Deleting it could be a fatal mistake.
I don't remember which one I've done. I think I've done We Can't Risk Control.
This is that moment. This is where I had mentioned that what we wanted was two completely different outcomes, where you either get a Borg control set of 9 or a controlled Michael Red Angel.
Oh, right.
So, but we weren't able to pull that off. So the consequences are minimal here, other than a couple of storylines, depending on which you choose.
We will destroy Control.
But I love this cutscene.
Get ready.
Yeah, this is good.
This is gonna sting. A lot.
Do it. That's a little more than a damn sting.
I really like that line.
Get it right. Resistance is futile.
Nice.
I really wanted that because to touch back onto all the controversy about whether Control is Borg. So I wanted that moment where it's like Control is using their one-liner, struggle is pointless, and say, nope, bitch, it's resistance is futile. Borg are better. So that's kind of a little nod to the fans and what they had noticed and picked up on.
She's dead. The sphere data is gone as well. Shock of removing it must have been too much for her. I just watched myself die.
Unfortunately, we have a new problem. At the end, before it beamed out, I think what was left of Control merged with some of my nanites.
Along with some of your genetic material.
Yeah, and now there's a Borg Control hybrid version of me running loose somewhere. Whatever the Excalbians are doing here needs to stop now.
Agreed. We need to get through to them. This has gone too far.
Rest easy. The trial of Esau 4 has come to an end.
Hug me, Abe.
My apologies, friends. These events must have taken a heavy toll upon all of you. We should return to speak with Yarnik now.
I think
Let us leave this place.
I think we've all seen enough of Esau 4. Let's go.
Come along, my friends.
So we have the original set photos from CBS. But this is some location under a bridge or something. It's the original. It's an on-site. So we were able to build a lot of it pretty accurately to the way it appeared.
How quickly you extinguished a wealth of knowledge. And to what end? Your decision to eliminate the data also claimed the life of the Red Angel. Control continues to exist, and the fate you sought to prevent will still come to pass.
In your trial, the simulation, yes.
Preventing Control from gaining access to the sphere data was a just and necessary action, despite the cost. While the entity continues to exist, it is vulnerable. Precious time was purchased this day, time that, God willing, will allow brave souls to find a way to stop control and bring an end to its inhuman march of destruction.
I have my
Of course, if you choose to save the data, you save Michael, but then he yells at you for saving the data, and that control is able to access it, takes over the universe. So he's going to yell at you either way.
Still, it could be worse. We still have time to present our case here. Hopefully, we will win some Excalbian hearts.
Hey, you haven't gotten your Delphic puddle yet?
I think I did, yeah. I got it.
Can you get 2? I don't know.
I think I have it in my bank.
I have been informed that Yarnik and the others wish to privately discuss the results of the trials. You are free to return to your vessel, or remain here until the recess reaches its conclusion.
This is a new little piece of technology that we figured out here, so you can actually either just play episode 2 right here, or you can leave and come back and pick up right here.
As much as I'd like to see
but
what
you guys have
this time period
you guys
is
have done
like,
this before.
No, I don't think we've ever done it where you can actually just play the second episode, just play the episode right.
The Guardian
there.
of Forever.
I don't remember that being the same, because I know we had to get special technology to do this. Exactly.
Well, let's see what happens when I do it. Let me. Oh yeah, look, it's immediately like I don't remember that.
Yeah, you could do that at the end of the when you discover the Guardian. You discover the Guardian in one episode, and the next episode is you travel through it to go back in time.
Right, but you have to.
Wasn't there a map load in between?
Yes, I'm gonna guess that there was a map load. We've never been able to do what we just did here. We just grant you the mission right here from the original, from the same person who you just turned it in from. I mean, it's a minor little thing, but it definitely really helps the experience. A lot of people, this is a long mission, just choose to stop and then pick it up later, and a lot of people just want to keep going. Normally would have had to force you to leave and come back, and we didn't want to force you to do that.
I'm trying to find.
I don't remember how it was handled in Guardian Forever, but I'm sure it's different. What are you looking for? You got to talk to the Excalbian. Are you looking for the axe?
The stump.
Yeah, I don't know where the axe is. I don't. I'd be sad if they took it out, but maybe it's.
Well, how are you guys feeling? Do you want to continue, or?
I'm worried about Winters over there. What's it like? 4 in the morning over there?
It's. I'll be going to bed soon.
Well, I mean, Al, unless you want to continue on and do the second mission, I think this was great, at least for a first part. I mean, I think we're all gonna be home for the next week or so we could in theory pick up.
Why don't we? I think we should. It's pick up whenever, next week or in a couple days or whatever.
Sounds good. Good.
Well, a good place to stop.
Well, captains, I want to thank you for sitting in with us during this very special presentation of Priority 1 Podcast, doing part 1 of Measure of Morality with none other than Star Trek Online's lead designer, CaptainGeko Rivera. I want to thank you, Al, for sitting with us for most of the day today, talking about Star Trek Online. Thank you so very much. We'll pick up on it in a couple of days, I think is a good stopping point.
Okay, sounds great. Look forward to it. This is a long mission. This originally was one mission, and then we said this is too long, so we split it in 2, and this was a good place for the mission to stop. Pretty big epic boss conclusion there. So look forward to part 2 with you guys.
Thank you so much.
Priority 1 message from Starfleet coming in on secured channel.